Joining us now, Lamont Bagby. Lamont, an FOJ, friend of John, good friend of mine, great guy, represents the Richmond area. He represents the House district that was once occupied by Joe Morrissey, who has a show on my network, WJFN 100.5 FM, 10 to noon, Tuesday to Friday. And he's also the chairman of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus in the House of Delegates and a very influential leader there. Lamont, thanks for joining us so early today.
Good to finally be on with you, John.
It's great to have you, Lamont. And next time under a little better circumstances than this.
I've been trying to get on, man.
Well,
I guess
Lamont,
to say something like this to get me on.
I know. It's always the irony of that. But now we'll have you on as a regular guest. And, of course, we're urging Lamont to take a look at getting his own show on our network, WJFN. We'd love to have him. And he even has a title for his show, Ninth and Broad, which I love, about downtown Richmond. So hopefully, Lamont, when your time is available, we can get that worked out. I think it'll be great. So looking forward to it. Lamont, you're the first person, really, the first organization immediately to call for the governor's resignation over this picture in his yearbook. And now, after the press conference on Saturday, which I thought was bizarro land, one of the most ridiculous press conferences I've ever witnessed in a crisis, but that's just me. How do you go forward now? Because the governor says no, he's staying.
John, Friday around 1 o'clock, as you know, we go in the session midday. I gave a floor speech to kick off Black History Month. And in that floor speech, I shared that the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus has no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. 2 hours after the session was over, that was tested. And we learned, we had a revelation that our dear friend Ralph Northam had that on his yearbook page. The caucus got together. We then went and met with the governor, looked him in his eye, told him how we felt. He shared some things. We then went back to the Capitol and met. At that point, we decided it was in the best interest of the Commonwealth for the governor to step aside. So we went back to the governor and had another conversation. So I was surprised when he decided not to step aside on Saturday.
When you talked to the governor, Lamont Bagby, personally about this, and it seemed like you thought he was going to resign, what do you think changed? Because certainly the chorus of those calling for his resignation got worse, not better. So between when you talked to him Friday and when he got up on Saturday, what do you think changed?
Well, it could be a number of things, and I really don't want to speculate. But I think he's still sorting through. I would imagine he needs time, and hopefully he took that time over the weekend and is preparing to do it gracefully.
I don't know, Lamont. I think if he was going to resign, he would have done it Saturday. I
haven't given up hope.
I've talked to people that have, secondhand, that have talked to people very close to him who says he's dug in, he's not going anywhere. So let me ask you this. Assuming he does not resign, and that's what we have to go by now, that's what we've heard, and he's not done so, what are the consequences, Lamont Bagby, if the governor does not resign and stays there?
I've been in both Democratic caucus and Black caucus, and we have not had those discussions.
So you don't wish to speculate?
No, not at all.
I get it. I expected most of the national Democrats to call for him to resign. Of course, those running for president, Kamala Harris, Christine Gillibrand, I think Bernie Sanders, others, I kind of expected that. I really didn't expect the swiftness of the Democratic Senate caucus because they know him. He's been a colleague forever. They kind of back him. But Dick Saslaw and, Senate Democrats called for his resignation Saturday. I also thought that it was telling that Attorney General Mark Garren called for him to resign, as well as Tim Kaine, Bobby Scott, and Mark Warner. So when you've got the entire Democratic Party in Virginia calling for you to resign as governor and you're a Democrat, how the hell do you stay in there and get anything done?
I think that's one of the largest challenges is, you have a lot of organizations that we work with, whether it's environmental or social justice organizations that have also called for him to step aside. So I just don't feel, and I just don't see how the governor could continue to serve as the highest ranking elected official in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, some of the things that have been said is he's lost his moral authority. I don't think there's any question about that. He's had 2 really bizarre press conferences in a row. We might not totally agree here, but I was appalled by the Kathy Tram bill and the third-term late abortion bill. I was equally aghast as a Catholic at the way the governor described it. That was a horrible situation. I really can't figure out where it was coming from on that. And a lot of people were upset by that. Now, let me just ask you something else, okay? Lamont Bagby, who was a House of Delegates member from Richmond. He's a Democrat. He is also chairman of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus. Lamont, there is...
You gotta come around more, John.
Huh?
You gotta come around more, man. You're struggling with the Black Caucus thing.
No, Virginia Legislative Black Caucus. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, you got it. All right.
It takes me a while. Okay, so let me ask you this. Now there are leaks of attacks on Justin Fairfax. The Progressive Political Action Committee, the collective, put a statement out saying that some of these were false attacks. We also got an article coming out in that same website that had the story about the governor's pictures in the yearbook, saying that there's a particular individual that it's possible, they're saying, that Justin Fairfax might have sexually harassed at the 2004 Democratic Convention. I guess my question is, like, why would that come out now, right? I mean, Fairfax ran for Attorney General in 2013. He ran for Lieutenant Governor in 2017 in a contested primary and general. Why wouldn't something like that have come out earlier? That doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't feel good to me. What about you?
I have not had an opportunity to find out as much information as I think I need to comment on that. And so I'm sure during the course of the day, my staff and others will bring me up to speed, and I'm sure I'll have a conversation directly with Justin.
Okay, we've got someone that would like to talk to the two of us. On the line is David Washington. David is a Democratic political strategist. He was also my next-door neighbor and a really great guy and a good friend of mine. And he was also very nice to my mom, who lived downstairs from him. David, you're on with me and Lamont Bagby.
Good morning, gentlemen. Wish we were talking under better circumstances. I've had the honor to meet Delegate Bagby at a fundraiser in Norfolk, Virginia, and for the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus. And John, you're a good friend of mine, and thank you for allowing me to come speak to your audience. Today, it's unfortunate. For those people like myself who live in Hampton Roads, who have put in the work to make communities like Virginia Beach competitive for the Democratic Party, when people said that we were kidding ourselves to even work in that community, to make the African American community on the Eastern Shore come out to the polls and vote in record numbers to get Elaine Luria elected to Congress. I feel like what the governor is doing is putting all that under threat, because a person like myself that goes to these barbershops and these beauty salons, that sit down and talk to these pastors and ensure them that that the Democratic Party is going in the right path. That those conversations will be a lot harder now, coming up in the summertime when we're trying to get some more folks in the House of Delegates as well as in the Senate. And that's what's frustrating. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm already thinking about the next election.
I want to get Lamont. Get Lamont Bagby to respond to that. Lamont, what do you think about what David just said, that the political implications for the Democrats don't bode well if he stays in office?
I can't argue with that. And, you know, while we are not making this decision solely based on how it affects us politically, the fact that we've lost those individuals that we usually turn to when it's time to get elected, it's evident that we need to turn the corner. Mm-hmm. It's not the reason. We're not doing it because it's a political thing to do. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. So I can't argue with them because it makes it more evident that those individuals that have stood beside us time and time again, pastors have said that they're disappointed, and we can't have a governor that can't go to congregations and speak. Because they would allow him to worship, but they wouldn't allow him to speak.
Well, the other thing, I don't see how he can go to a fundraiser, or how he can really, nobody's going to want to be seen with him in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or any party. So I guess he'd be almost a prisoner of the governor's mansion, right? Nobody wants to see him. I don't know how he works his way through this. We're with Lamont Bagby. Lamont Bagby, House of Delegates member in Richmond. He's a Democrat. He's also the chairman of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus. And I'm also on the line is David Washington. David, a Democratic political strategist. And David, also my former neighbor. And my mom stays with us, and he would look after my mom when Ann and I and Joseph went out of town. But I do, David, I know that Sammy, my cat, misses your daughter speaking to him in the window. I know that. He's always trying to find her downstairs. Where do we go from here, David Washington? I mean, as a political consultant, you can't utilize Governor Northam to do anything. He becomes a political liability. Where do you go from here?
Now, the good news is this. We have some outstanding elected officials in Hampton Roads. We have some outstanding individuals who are planning on running for delegate seats in Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. So we have to focus whether or not the governor is going to resign, and they'll hash all that stuff out in Richmond. Our focus on the ground has to be about developing our candidates, making sure that our elected officials who are planning on running for re-election have all the resources that they need to be successful, and to make sure that we come together as a team and do what we're supposed to do, regardless of politics. This situation is going to make that a lot harder, but we still have to fight the good fight, and we still have to have a message of inclusion, of us working together as a community, regardless of race, creed, or color. And if we continue to have that message, and we continue to produce candidates that can win elections, we should be fine. But this is definitely going to be a hitch in the road that we're going to have to deal with. We're going to have to sit down and talk to as a team, as people in individual campaign staff, as a coordinated campaign. This is something we got to deal with.
Lamont Bagby, straight up, does the presence of Ralph Northam in the mansion jeopardize the Democrats and the House of Delegates' ability to take the Speaker's gavel in 2019?
I haven't started to think that far yet. We are, as you know, in the middle of session. Crossover is tomorrow.
Right.
We have hundreds of bills to go through today.
Right.
I was reluctant to jump on your show this morning because it's a busy day over here today. We are focused on the budget. We are focused on debating some pretty significant bills this morning, and we're going to be here all day pushing buttons, whether it's red or green, on some of these bills. And it's hard to think past session. We had enough on our plate on Thursday, and then this revelation did us no favors.
Well, Lamont, I really appreciate your time. I know you're very busy today. Okay, you guys probably
John,
want...
I do want to say that we do have hope, not just for the Commonwealth, but we have hope for Ralph Northam as an individual, and he has an opportunity still to make sure that his legacy is not tarnished completely, and he also has the opportunity to make a significant impact on race relations in the Commonwealth and the country.
I'm not sure how he does that if he stays as governor. That's the issue. I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure.
Ralph Northam can do it.
Yeah.
As I stated, Ralph Northam can do it. Governor Northam cannot.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. Now, both of you are probably on pins and needles. You probably want my prediction for who would be chosen by Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. If he becomes governor, he'll have to choose a lieutenant governor that would then fill the position on an interim basis until they held an election in November. I know you guys want my prediction, right? Here it is. Senator Janet Howe. That's my prediction. If Fairfax becomes governor, he's going to have to choose a state senator, and I think he chooses Janet Howe from Northern Virginia. Guys, thanks for being with us. John Fredericks Radio Network. David, thanks for your input, and I also want to thank the time that he squeezed in for us today. Lamont Bagby, House of Delegates member, Richmond, and also the chairman of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus.